Our story begins in the sprawling metropolis of Tianfeng City. Here, at the prestigious Fifth Academy, futures are about to be forged. And among the students, one sits apart, seemingly unfazed by the tension. The classroom is a chaotic mess of prayers for high-ranked talents. Everyone dreams of becoming an elite, earning millions in the demon territory. While his classmates argue over money versus duty, he remains silent. Because for him, the reality is much harsher. His family's savings are gone. With no other options, he decides to risk it all in the demon territory tonight. This is Zhang Ze, a boy whose life has always been one of impossible journeys. He was transported here from another world, a secret he's carried for 10 years. The name Zhang Ze was a gift from the family that found him. They gave him a home, a little sister, and a reason to live. But this world was torn apart 20 years ago by a demonic invasion. Monstrous creatures poured from the sky, laying waste to civilization. And in the chaos, his new mother was one of the first to fall. A young Zhang Ze could only watch, paralyzed by the horror. The demon that took her was a nightmare given form. And what happened next is, let's just say it's not for the faint of heart. His father, wounded and cornered, used his last moments to protect them. With his dying breath, he begged Zhang Ze to save his sister and run. And so he ran, dragging his little sister through the chaos and ruin. Behind them, the demon towered over what was left of their father. The creature reached down, a final brutal act of desecration. The resulting splatter painted a grim picture of his father's end. But Zhang Ze couldn't look away, the horror seared into his memory. He watched his family die, just another casualty in a world gone mad. But humanity fought back, taking the war to the demon territory itself, a place where heroes of all shapes, sizes, and magical girl outfits fought for survival. Nations formed elite teams, humanity's champions against the darkness. This new world order was built around the Hunter Association and its 5 ranks. Rank 2 hunters are the seasoned veterans, warriors of renown. Rank 3 brings forth masters of mystical arts and powerful support. At rank 4, you'll find the living legends, humanity's true elites. And then there's rank 5, the demigods who stand against the abyss. But a hunter's rank is built on their awakened talent, a scale from D to SSS. To even become a rank 1 hunter, you need an A-rank talent at minimum. With the weight of the world on his shoulders, Zhang Ze rushes from school. His goal is clear: awaken an A-rank talent, or his story ends here. He arrives home, calling out for the one person he has left. She greets him with a birthday meal, cooked to absolute charcoal perfection. He gently reminds her to focus on her studies, not on cooking for him. But the line between their world and the next is dangerously thin. He then proceeds to steal the birthday meal because chivalry is dead. As night falls, the time for his desperate gamble draws near. She leaves for a study session, a convenient excuse for what's to come. Alone now, he watches the final seconds tick down on his device. Everything rides on this moment, glory or a lifetime of failure. With a single press, he activates the portal to the other side. A violent surge of energy erupts, the gateway tearing open before him. And just like that, Zhang Ze is pulled into the abyss. He grits his teeth as the raw energy of the portal courses through him. His first sight in this hellscape is a surprisingly cheerful guide fairy. He stands alone in the proving grounds, the first step of his journey. Having done his homework, he chooses the name Rakshasa to hide his identity. A swirl of golden energy envelops him, reshaping his appearance. The transformation completes, leaving him in the dark, hooded gear of Rakshasa. The guide fairy presents a crystal ball, the final step to awakening his talent. With trembling hands, he reaches for the orb, his one prayer echoing in his mind: Rank A. The moment his fingers make contact, the orb erupts in a blinding surge of energy. The world is consumed by a brilliant, blinding white light. The blinding flash subsides, leaving Zhang Ze confused and the orb inert in his hands. Even the cheerful guide fairy is left speechless, her eyes wide with disbelief. Panic grips Zhang Ze as he begs the fairy for an answer, fearing the absolute worst. Then comes the reveal, shattering all expectations: an SSS rank summoned talent. He can't believe his ears, convinced he must have misheard her. With a talent far beyond what he'd even dared to hope for, his comeback story begins. The guide fairy pulls up a system window, ready to explain his new power. He reads the details. After killing a target, he can summon a permanent identical clone. So he kills a monster, and then it works for him? Seems perfectly balanced. He envisions himself at the head of a legion of monsters, even boss-level creatures. Trying to keep his cool, Zhang Zu decides to check his new status window. His stats are disappointingly average, except for that glaring SSS rank skill. He notices his mental spirit is slightly higher, a possible clue to his otherworldly origins. With a final wave and a wish of good luck, the fairy sends him on his way. Once again, he's consumed by a blinding flash of light. The light fades to reveal a sprawling green landscape and a massive arrival platform. A pair of instructors from the Demon Territory Administration are there to greet the new arrivals. He finds himself in a crowd of other hopefuls, all fresh faces in this new world. Surrounded by countless others, he finally takes in the reality of his situation. A wave of excitement ripples through the crowd as their new journey officially begins. One particularly loud recruit, who clearly shops at Hot Topic, boasts of his A-rank talent. The crowd buzzes with a mix of envy and satisfaction over their own awakenings. Meanwhile, others are already having a full-blown existential crisis over their D rank. An instructor with zero patience for drama orders them to line up for weapons. A long queue forms, a stark visually into a bullseye. Zhang Ze stays behind, practicing his archery as the instructor watches on. He realizes archery is harder than it looks. Despite many attempts, only one arrow hit true. He knows he's too weak for a direct fight. His only path is to master the bow. And so, under the relentless sun, the training begins. The ground becomes a graveyard of failed attempts and wasted arrows. But through it all, his focus never wavers, his gaze locked on the goal. He draws the bowstring again, his form now practiced and steady. The arrow flies, a perfect line cutting through the air. It lands dead center, splitting the shaft of the arrow that came before it. A system window pops up, confirming his archery proficiency has skyrocketed. His hands are raw and blistered, but he's finally satisfied with his progress. With his practice complete, Zhang Ze finally heads into the wilderness to hunt. The forest is teeming with life, from muscle-bound rabbits to hulking wolf beasts. From the shadows, Zhang Ze watches, his eyes burning with focus. His targets are clear: swift rabbits, durable turtles, and a deadly wolf boss. Elsewhere, the other recruits are already running for their lives from a massive lava turtle. The creature's immense weight sends shockwaves through the ground with every step. It corners a terrified hunter, its shadow falling over him like a death sentence. An arrow flies from the trees, only to bounce harmlessly off the turtle's rock-hard shell. But the attack serves its purpose as Zhang Ze reveals himself to draw its attention. He tries a bold new strategy, attempting to befriend the giant angry rock monster. The turtle's furious glare suggests it is not, in fact, interested in friendship. He offers an awkward smile, realizing his diplomacy has failed spectacularly. With negotiations officially over, Zhang Ze turns and runs for his life. The massive creature thunders behind him, its shadow a constant terrifying presence. He spots the arrival altar in the distance, a desperate plan forming in his mind. Using the ancient pillars as cover, he leads the beast straight into a trap. The pillar hums with energy, revealing a hidden defense mechanism. A bolt of lightning erupts from the stone, striking the turtle for massive damage. Seizing the opportunity, Zhang Ze unleashes a rapid volley of arrows. The final arrow finds its mark, and the colossal beast finally falls. He watches as the monster's body dissolves into light, its threat finally gone. In its place, a glowing blue orb materializes, a low-rank magic soul. Zhang Ze smiles, his risky gambit having paid off handsomely. A system guide explains these orbs can be absorbed to increase stats. But with a pitifully small boost, he decides the cash is more valuable. Then comes the real prize, the prompt to use his SSS rank summoning skill. He confirms the command, and a vortex of energy erupts before him. From the swirling light, the lava turtle is reborn, now bound to his will. He can't contain his laughter, absolutely thrilled with his new pet rock. This is it, the first beast in what will become his personal army. With a new ally at his side, a dangerous confidence settles in his eyes. He celebrates his new friendship in the only way that makes sense, a big, heartfelt hug. Elsewhere, other recruits learn that the local wildlife is not nearly as friendly. A team of 3 hunters finds themselves completely outmatched by a single jacked-up rabbit. As the sun begins to set, the forest grows even more dangerous for the unprepared. One of the hunters is cornered, his back against the wall with nowhere left to run. But the rabbit is the least of his worries as a much larger shadow looms up from behind. The hunters freeze, caught between the vicious rabbit and the massive lava turtle. They stare in utter disbelief, trying to make sense of the impossible scene unfolding. Because perched atop the giant monster is a hooded figure, riding it like a war mount. Zhang Ze offers a casual greeting, ready to make one hell of a first impression. The hunters can only stare, wondering how this hooded figure tamed a monster. Inspired, one of them decides to try his luck with the homicidal rabbit. His attempt at friendship is answered with a fist straight to the jaw. With their friend nursing his teeth, the other two are forced to engage the beast. The leader lands a critical strike, but the damage is laughably low. The rabbit proves far too agile, easily leaping away from their blades. Wounded, the creature begins to power up, its muscles bulging with new strength. It enters a berserk state, its eyes glowing with pure, unbridled fury. The hunters stand their ground, convinced they can take down the enraged beast together. But their hope dies as two more rabbits emerge from the forest ready to join the fray. The hunters can only stare, their faces a perfect blend of horror and confusion. But elsewhere, the sun sets peacefully over the grasslands. Zhang Ze takes a moment to enjoy the view, finding calm in the chaos. From his perch, he watches the three hunters sprinting across the plains. They run for their lives, screaming that their end is near. They even try to warn the strange man on the turtle to flee with them. But Zhang Ze is just confused by their sudden frantic panic. That is, until he sees the trio of enraged rabbits charging right behind them. One of the hunters reacts with what can only be described as peak anime terror. The lead rabbit leaps to attack, but Zhang Ze dodges with practiced ease. With the battle underway, Zhang Ze commands his new ally to attack. The turtle's tail sweeps across the field, dealing far more damage than his arrows. He has the sudden, humbling realization that his pet rock is stronger than he is. But the enraged rabbits are relentless, sinking their teeth into the turtle's shell. They swarm the massive beast, a flurry of claws and teeth chipping away at its health. He knows the turtle's defense won't hold. He needs to draw their fire. The turtle pulls into its shell, a classic but effective defensive maneuver. Then, it unleashes a spinning attack, turning its spiked shell into a deadly vortex. Seizing the moment, Zhang Ze leaps into the fray, loosing arrows mid-air. With a final, decisive tail whip, the battle shifts dramatically in their favor. His arrows pepper the beast, each shot a tiny chip against a mountain of rage. The rabbits are relentless, kicking and clawing at the massive turtle. One leaps high, landing a brutal critical strike right on the turtle's head. Zhang Ze roars in fury, vowing he won't let his first summon die here. He lets another volley fly, but his damage is still laughably insignificant. Realizing the danger, he orders his turtle to retreat before it's too late. But the creature holds its ground, a silent defiance in its ancient eyes. Then, in a flash of blue light, the turtle levels up right in the middle of the fight. With its newfound power, its tail whips through the air like a spiked mace. It connects with a devastating blow, sending the rabbit flying across the field. The last rabbit dissolves into particles of light, its rampage finally over. With the battle won, a new prompt appears, a chance to summon all three rabbits. Without a moment's hesitation, Zhang Ze gives the command. 3 spectral rabbits materialize before him, their loyalty now his to command. A grin spreads across his face as his personal army begins to take shape. With a tank and 3 damage dealers, his monster squad is officially formed. As a new day dawns, the world seems full of possibilities. But his quiet morning is interrupted by an unexpected system message. It's a mandatory recall, ordering all students back to the arrival altar. Zhang Ze wonders what could be so important to call everyone back. Territory is Moon Shadow. The crowd buzzes with excitement, recognizing the legendary S-rank talent from a past generation. She addresses the students, warning them to take the coming fight seriously and obey her orders. Her gaze is cold and unwavering. She's clearly not here to make friends. Suddenly, system notifications ping across the crowd as team invites are sent out. It's a direct invitation from Moonshadow, though her personal stats are almost entirely concealed. Zhang Ze accepts, already scheming how to use this raid to capture the boss for himself. With the sun high in the sky, the raid officially begins. Moonshadow leads the students deep into the monster-infested forest. Zhang Ze reminds himself to lay low, revealing his army would cause a panic. It isn't long before their first encounter, a pair of jacked-up rabbits, followed closely by a familiar, heavily armored lava turtle. The students brace for a fight, calling out to attack as a group. But Moonshadow has other plans, her hand already on her blade. In a single blinding flash, she cuts through all 3 monsters at once. The recruits can only stare in awe. The entire fight was over in an instant. This is the overwhelming power of an S-rank talent, a true legend in the flesh. Moonshadow glances back, her cold gaze ordering them to stop gawking and keep up. Even Zhang Ze is impressed, realizing his plan to steal the boss kill might be a tad optimistic. As night falls, a lone howl echoes through the darkness, signaling their arrival. The students recognize the sound. They've reached the lair of the dark shadow wolf. A swirling vortex of darkness tears open the air before them. Moonshadow warns them this is the boss's entrance and their only job is to not die. A massive clawed paw takes a single menacing step out of the portal. The students are paralyzed by a wave of pressure as their legendary guide stands firm. The dark shadow wolf emerges, its glowing eyes locking onto its prey. A thick fog rolls in, blinding the students and hiding the beast within the shadows. The fog spreads rapidly, blanketing the entire battlefield in darkness. While the students are lost in the haze, Moonshadow stands ready and waiting. A dark shape flashes past, the wolf moving too fast to be seen. It strikes from the shadows, a blur of claws and fangs aimed at their guide. The students panic, realizing their only job is in fact quite difficult. The darkness seems to close in, the wolf's presence felt everywhere at once. Then, from the mist, the beast finally reveals its terrifying face. But Moonshadow's eyes are sharp, tracking its every move with perfect clarity. She dodges its lunge with an almost casual, effortless grace. The wolf's attack misses completely, a testament to her incredible reflexes. With a twist of her blade, she prepares to unleash her true power. A single devastating slash cuts through the darkness, landing a critical blow. The mighty wolf boss falls, its body already dissolving into particles of light. As the creature fades, the oppressive fog finally dissipates from the battlefield. The students erupt in cheers, recognizing Moonshadow's legendary S-rank skill. But Zhang Zhou is already analyzing the attack, pulling up its data on his HUD. The skill's description is absurd, with damage doubling on every consecutive hit. She confirms the students have the passkey, her duty to them now complete. But her attention is already elsewhere, focused on a private group chat. It seems this was just a detour. Her real team is waiting for her on the 5th floor. She tells the students to pass through the gate as the boss will respawn in an hour. But one of the recruits tries to warn her about the portal behind her. Moonshadow turns, her eyes widening as the gateway pulses with dark energy. The swirling vortex of darkness begins to destabilize and grow. She realizes with a shock that a new boss is spawning, far ahead of schedule. The portal erupts, spitting out tendrils of pure, malevolent shadow. But the aura is different this time, far stronger than the beast she just defeated. An elite-ranked dark shadow wolf emerges, its scarred face a mask of fury. The students are terrified, suddenly realizing their S-rank guide might not be enough. Moonshadow orders them to run, knowing they would only be a liability in this fight. The students flee, but Zhang Zhe watches, questioning if even she can win this. She knows the odds. An elite boss is 5 times stronger than a normal one. But she steals Shadow's face. A system notification confirms the worst. She's been hit, and she's bleeding out. She grits her teeth, furious that the senses her weakness, circling its prey for the final blow. It lunges forward, a blur of shadow and malice closing the distance. Its claws tear through her defenses, a brutal, devastating strike. The legendary S-rank hunter falls, her body broken on the forest floor. The beast looms over her, its jaws wide for the killing bite. But even in defeat, the fire in her eyes refuses to die. But just as its jaws close, a volley of arrows thuds into the beast's hide. From the shadows, a lone archer reveals himself. Zhang Zhe has entered the fight. He taunts the beast, drawing its fury away from the fallen S-rank hunter. Moonshadow can only watch, stunned by the sudden, reckless intervention. She recognizes him as one of the freshmen, wondering why he didn't run with the others. He leads the wolf on a chase as she begs him to escape, knowing he's no match. The beast takes the bait, disappearing into the trees after its new target. Convinced he's just thrown his life away, she can only call him an idiot. The sounds of the chase fade, leaving the forest in an eerie silence. But Zhang Ze's gamble is calculated. With the boss at half health, he's going for the kill. He knows he can't outrun it forever. He needs an open space for his army. The beast closes in fast, its fangs inches from his back. He digs his heels in, his desperate retreat coming to an abrupt halt. With nowhere left to run, he turns to face the monster and calls for backup. His loyal lava turtle erupts into existence, a living shield against the wolf's attack. Elsewhere, Moonshadow chugs a health potion, determined to save the reckless freshman. She works to patch her wounds, hoping the kid can survive just a little longer, and they've all come to back her up. Her teammates immediately begin to scold her for recklessly fighting an elite boss alone. For once, the legendary hunter looks humbled, admitting she overestimated her own strength. The shield bearer looks around the empty clearing, asking where the monster disappeared to. She remembers with a jolt of panic, explaining that a freshman lured the beast away. Her team can only stare in disbelief. A newbie kiting an elite boss is a death sentence. But that suicidal newbie is now on the offensive, finally unleashing his secret weapon. His summoned monsters roar into the clearing, a small but formidable personal army. The three rabbits immediately swarm the wolf, their coordinated assault slowing its movements. The lava turtle swings its massive tail, a spiked club of pure stone. The attack connects perfectly, sending the elite boss flying across the clearing. Zhangze watches with a smirk. His strategy is working flawlessly. But the wolf is far from finished, its eyes burning with pure rage. It retaliates with a wave of shadow, blasting all of his summons at once. Zhangze realizes the damage is too high. His army can't just tank these hits. But just like before, one of his rabbits levels up in the heat of battle. He shouts new orders, telling his team to surround the beast and press the attack. The wolf proves incredibly agile, leaping over the turtle to avoid its attacks. The battle rages on under the dark, unforgiving sky. The first casualty falls as a system alert confirms one of his rabbits is down. Zhangze watches in horror, a genuine cry of loss for his fallen summon. A second rabbit follows the first, cut down by the relentless elite beast. He grits his teeth in frustration. The wolf's endurance is beyond anything he expected. With his army dwindling, he screams for the wolf to just die already. In a final desperate gambit, he orders his turtle to bring its tail down with full force. The attack lands with the force of a meteor, crushing the wolf into the earth. And just like that, a system notification confirms the impossible. The elite boss is defeated. He lets out a shaky breath, his two remaining summons barely clinging to life. But the rewards are well worth the risk, a treasure trove of elite-level loot. He inspects the loot, already power now bound to his will. He can't help but grin. With this beast, he's practically a god on the first floor. But reality calls, backed by her confidence. But she remains frustratingly vague about her plans. The scene shifts to a grim, forgotten alleyway, a silent hint of the world outside their door. He leaves for school, reminding her to focus on her studies while he handles the rest. Soon he's back at the 5th Academy, the starting line for his new double life. He walks through the bustling courtyard, a lone figure in a sea of ordinary students. Inside, his classmates are already comparing notes on their newly awakened talents. Two friends joke about a broken pact to fail together. Standing beside him is none other than the S-rank legend, Liu Yue-ying. The male students are immediately captivated, with one D-rank dreaming of asking her out. The teacher announces that the hero who helped Moon Shadow is in their class. As the students murmur in confusion, Zhangze keeps his head down, determined to stay anonymous. Unable to find the mystery student, Moon Shadow asks the teacher to keep her informed. The moment she leaves, the class erupts in debate over the hero's identity. But a classmate with glasses leans in, telling mopping floors and dreaming of a better future. Nearby, the school's top student, Zheng Qing, a text from his sister provides another convenient excuse for her to be out late. With his goal clear, Zhangze logs back in, ready to grind on the first floor. He returns to the familiar chaos of the arrival altar, a world away from his own. Back in his Rakshasa gear, he takes stock of his summon team, noting he has 7 slots left. His plan is simple. Fill out his roster with 10 beasts before daring to enter the second floor. With a dramatic flourish, he calls his loyal monsters to his side. His elite wolf materializes, the centerpiece of his new hunting party. And so, under a peaceful sky, the grind for power begins anew. His lava turtle lets out a ferocious roar, ready for the hunt. With his elite wolf at his back, Zhangze leads the charge. His summons tear through the local wildlife with brutal efficiency. Even the notoriously tough rabbits fall before his coordinated assault. An hour passes, a blur of experience points and monster souls. Finally, his army is complete, 10 powerful beasts ready for his command. But his victory lap is cut short by a desperate cry for help nearby. A team of hunters flees from a swarm of demonic creatures running for the exit. From the trees, Zhangze recognizes a familiar, bespectacled face among them. It's his classmate, Handsome Fatty, convinced his adventuring career is already over. But these aren't monsters, they're player killers with a much darker plan. From the shadows, Zhangze learns their goal, real-world kidnapping and extortion. Instead of fighting, Zhangze turns and flees deeper into the woods. The leader isn't worried. His targets are stuck, so he orders his men to hunt the archer. With a bloodthirsty mob at his heels, our boy leads them on a merry chase. He has a destination in mind, a narrow pass with only one way in or out. He leads them straight into the choke point, a perfect kill box for his plan. The kidnappers laugh, mocking him for running himself into a dead end. Their leader grins, telling his men to take their time and make it hurt. But Zhangze is unfazed, asking if they aren't worried about getting caught. The villain scoffs, explaining that in the demon territory, no one can hear you scream. Jiangzu kneels, but not in surrender. He's preparing to spring his trap. With a cold glare, he gives the command to serve the guests. Suddenly, the narrow pass is filled with the ominous glow of summoning circles. His entire 10-beast army erupts into existence, a wall of claws and fury. The kidnapper's confidence shatters, replaced by pure, unadulterated panic. Realizing the tables have turned dramatically, they make a desperate, unified decision: run. But their escape is cut off as a suffocating, dark aura fills the narrow pass. From the shadows, a pair of glowing blue eyes locks onto its new prey. The elite dark shadow wolf emerges, the alpha predator of Zhang Ze's army. The kidnappers recognize the beast, their blood running cold at the sight of an elite. Zhang Ze stands calmly, reminding the leader of his arrogant words from moments before. He throws the villain's boast back in his face, a promise that no one will hear them scream. The tough guy act shatters, and the kidnappers turn to flee in a blind panic. But there's nowhere to run as the wolf unleashes a terrifying, bloodthirsty roar. The beast becomes a blur of motion, tearing through the group with brutal efficiency. The rest of his army joins the fray, turning the kill box into a slaughterhouse. The kidnappers' screams are cut short as his summons descend upon them. When the chaos subsides, only the silent night sky remains as a witness. Zhang Ze stands over the fallen, his voice cold as he declares they got what they deserved. He loots their bodies, finding that crime, for once, actually does pay. Among the spoils is a berserk talisman, a curious tool he files away for a rainy day. With his detour complete, he turns his focus back to the main quest, reaching the second floor. But as he approaches the portal, a spider descending from its web. The creature lunges, a venomous predator native to these dark caverns. But Zhang Ze is already one step ahead, calling forth his personal army. His loyal rabbits answer the call, streaking through the air like furry missiles. The spider counters, spitting a thick web that ensnares one of his summons. The rabbit struggles, completely immobilized by the sticky trap. With its prey helpless, the spider unleashes a volley of acidic poison. The venom eats away at the rabbit's health, a slow and painful decline. Zhang Ze realizes the poison's damage over time effect is the real threat. He orders the rest of his team to attack, loosing an arrow to support them. His army descends in a blur of claws and fury, overwhelming the arachnid. The final blow lands, and the poison spider is officially defeated. He lost a level 2 rabbit, but the loot is disappointingly meager. But the real reward isn't the orbs, it's the chance to add a new beast to his collection. The poison spider is reborn, its venomous fangs now serving a new master. He inspects his new pet, pleased its stats are a major upgrade from his first-floor team. With a new summon in his arsenal, he ventures deeper into the dark tunnels. He notes the monsters here are far stronger, a true test of his growing power. But he also notices the caverns are strangely quiet. A little too quiet. His observation is cut short as a pair of bloodthirst bats dive from the darkness. He reacts instantly, calling forth his army to counter the ambush. His elite wolf and loyal turtle erupt into the cavern, ready for battle. He notes his summoning speed has improved, a crucial upgrade that just saved his life. With a single command, he orders his entire menagerie to attack the swarm. The cavern becomes a chaotic blur of claws and wings as the two sides clash. The bats sink their fangs into his summons, draining life force with every bite. His entire army is swarmed, their health steadily draining from the relentless assault. Zhang Ze realizes the bats are healing themselves, making this a battle of attrition. He changes tactics, calling on his newest recruit, the venomous poison spider. The spider unleashes a volley of poison, a perfect counter to the bat's regeneration. The poison splatters across the bats, its corrosive effect ticking away at their health. Zhang Ze smirks, his strategy paying off as the poison negates their healing ability. He orders his army to focus fire, a coordinated assault to take them down one by one. The battle rages on, a chaotic dance of shadows in the web-filled cavern. His summons land a devastating blow, tearing through the creature's defenses. One by one, the bloodthirst bats fall, dissolving into particles of light. The victory was costly. Only his strongest summon survived the brutal fight. But with every loss comes a new opportunity, as he prepares to claim his prize. 2 new bloodthirst bats are reborn, their life-draining power now his to command. With his army replenished, he sets his sights on the next target, the second-floor boss. He arrives at the boss's lair to find a crowd already gathered. But the atmosphere is tense, with players arguing over a group monopolizing the boss. He learns that on these lower floors, there's no one to enforce the rules. The group in question makes their presence known, silencing the crowd with a single command. Their leader proudly displays their business model, a toll to fight the boss. The price is steep, a clear shakedown of the weaker players. He calls it a protection fee and announces one last spot on the team. And from the back of the crowd, Zhang Ze decides to play along. He claims to be a rich kid, offering gold bars instead of the required orbs. The leader takes the bait but warns him of the consequences, unaware he's just been played. The leader welcomes Zhang Ze to the team, promising a front-row seat to the boss fight. But under his hood, Zhang Ze is already plotting their spectacular downfall. The newly formed team ventures deeper into the dark, winding caverns. They arrive at a clearing where the true leader of this operation is waiting. A system window reveals his name is money-earning superhero, a proficient boxer. He tells the group to stay back and watch, as he'll handle the boss himself. With their leader in front, the group proceeds toward the boss's lair. The tunnel opens into a massive, awe-inspiring cavern, and in the center of it all, a colossal foot hints at the beast within. The second-floor boss is revealed, the massive Devour Heaven Frog. Zhang Ze is momentarily stunned, his eyes wide with disbelief. The Devour Heaven Frog is a living mountain, its shadow swallowing them whole. Even after all his research, the sheer scale of the beast is overwhelming. The boxer sheds his coat, telling the others to stay back and enjoy the show. He stomps the ground, gathering his power with a single decisive movement. The cavern floor cracks under the immense pressure of his stance. With fists engulfed in flames, he leaps into the air like a human meteor. He unleashes a devastating flurry of fiery punches directly into the frog's face. The crowd is speechless. A single attack just wiped out a third of the boss's health. A system window reveals his A-rank skill, a rapid-fire assault that explains the absurd damage. The frog retaliates with a massive fireball, but the boxer dodges with ease. The explosion rocks the cavern, sending the spectators scrambling for cover. Undeterred, the boxer is back on the attack, pummeling the beast with fiery fists. From the shadows, Zhang Ze calculates his next move, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The boxer roars, channeling all his power into one final decisive punch. His fists rain down on the beast, chipping away at its remaining health. Seeing his window of opportunity, Zhang Ze draws his bow, his own plan set in motion. He knocks a strange crystalline arrowhead, a special tool for a special occasion. But the frog isn't finished yet, sending the overconfident boxer flying with a powerful blow. With the showboating hero out of the way, Zhang Ze stands alone before the colossal beast. The boxer's crew panics, realizing the newcomer is about to steal their prize. The Devour Heaven Frog turns its full attention to the lone archer standing in its way. His lackeys call out to their leader, telling him to ignore the reckless newbie. But the boxer scoffs, content to watch the frog incinerate this arrogant upstart. But Zhang Ze's gaze is unwavering, his resolve hardening for the fight to come. The crowd scoffs at his arrogance, convinced he's trading his life for a prize he'll never get to keep. But they've all made a fatal miscalculation, as Zhang Ze finally reveals his trump card. A swarm of his summoned beasts materializes, a nightmarish collection of bats and spiders. His army immediately swarms the colossal frog, a chaotic assault from all sides. The onlookers are left speechless, their minds struggling to process what they're seeing. Even the arrogant boxer is stunned, admitting he's never seen a summoning skill this powerful. The combined poison and life-draining attacks rapidly weaken the colossal beast. With his army providing cover, Zhang Ze unleashes a rapid volley of arrows. Each shot lands true, peppering the weakened boss with a final burst of damage. The mighty Devour Heaven Frog finally collapses, its massive body dissolving into light. A system notification confirms his victory, and a smirk spreads across Zhang Ze's face. The boxer's crew can only stare, unable to believe a newbie just stole their kill. In the beast's place lies a treasure trove of loot, a testament to his high-risk play. He calmly kneels to collect his prize, ignoring the storm brewing behind him. But the boxer and his crew have other plans, and they don't look happy about sharing. The boxer surrounds him, demanding all the loot and the gold bars as the price for his life. But Zhang Ze calls them out for their extortion, confident he can win even with his weakened army. The boxer seems intrigued by his summoning skill, a rare compliment from the arrogant fighter, but he quickly dismisses it as useless against a true master like himself. To prove his point, he launches himself at one of the bloodthirst bats with fiery fists. The bat is instantly obliterated, a clear demonstration of the boxer's overwhelming power. He grinds the fallen summon under his boot, a final disrespectful flourish. He scoffs that no matter how many mobs Zhang Ze summons, they're all just trash. But the taunt only hardens Zhang Ze's resolve. His mission has just changed from loot to extermination. Just as the fight is about to begin, one of the lackeys shouts for them to stop, holding up a strange card. The lackey reveals himself as an undercover inspector from the Management Bureau. Zhang Zi realizes this inspector is an undercover agent here to clean up corruption. The boxer's second-in-command panics, suggesting they kill both the inspector and Zhang Zi. The inspector declares he has all the evidence he needs and orders them to surrender. But the boxer just smiles, a chilling sign that he has no intention of cooperating. He tells the inspector it's a pity he won't live long enough to file his report. The inspector is stunned, realizing these thugs are willing to kill a federal agent. In an instant, the two of them are completely surrounded by the boxer's crew. The inspector bravely steps forward, vowing to protect Zhang Zi from the thugs. He even tries to recruit Zhang Zi, apparently multitasking between survival and HR. As the thugs move in, the inspector stands his ground, his staff glowing with power. He reveals his true talent, unleashing a powerful ice-based spell. The first attacker is instantly frozen solid, a grim statue in the dark cavern. The boxer's crew realizes he's an A-rank talent, but their leader spots a fatal flaw, a long cooldown. With the inspector's main weapon offline, the boxer orders his men to charge. But the agent proves surprisingly agile, dodging the clumsy assault with ease. He disarms his opponent with a swift kick, proving he's more than just a mage. The inspector boasts about his martial arts training, completely unaware of the masked figure behind him. Meanwhile, the boxer reveals his true plan. He's just stalling for more backup. The agent delivers a classic hero speech, demanding their surrender in the name of the law. The boxer's second-in-command scoffs, finding the idea of surrender absolutely hilarious. He casts a buff, channeling golden energy from his fingertips. The boxer's body glows with newfound power, a gift from his smirking ally. With a stomp that cracks the very stone beneath him, he prepares to charge. He launches forward, a human cannonball with fists of fire aimed at the inspector. But the agent is ready, unleashing a powerful ice spell to stop him cold. The spell hits, but the boxer powers through thanks to a B-rank magic immunity skill. The inspector can only stare in disbelief, his trump card rendered completely useless. Realizing they're outmatched, he grabs Zhang Zi and tells him to run for his life. But the boxer closes in, promising that for them, this is the end of the line. The boxer unleashes his final fiery punch, roaring for their deaths. The inspector can only scream, bracing for an impact he can't possibly survive. He grits his teeth as the blow lands, but something has taken the hit for him. The lava turtle stands as a living shield, its shell absorbing the full force of the attack. Before the boxer can react, he's ensnared in a thick web from the poison spider. Zhang Zi steps forward, telling the stunned inspector that he'll handle this. He explains with a smirk that he doesn't need to fight his own battles. With a flash of blue light, he prepares to unleash his true power. A thick, dark fog suddenly blankets the cavern, confusing the boxer and his crew. From the mist, the elite dark shadow wolf emerges, its cold eyes promising a swift end. The boxer's crew recognizes the beast, realizing with horror that it's an elite. But Zhang Zi is just getting started, his true power still hidden in the shadows. The boxer flexes, shattering the webs with sheer brute force. But Zhang Zi just smiles because an elite wolf was never his true trump card. With another flash of light, the Devour Heaven Frog is reborn, its colossal form dwarfing them all. The thugs panic, wondering if the game is bugged before realizing the horrifying truth. The crowd's speculation runs wild, guessing his talent must be S rank or even higher. Cornered and outmatched, the boxer realizes there's no path left but to fight. He orders his men to kill the two humans, vowing to handle the summoned beasts himself. He launches himself forward, a fiery meteor aimed at the heart of the monster army. With a single command, Zhang Zi unleashes his two strongest beasts upon the boxer. The frog and the wolf roar in unison, a terrifying tag team of summoned fury. But the boxer is impossibly fast, dodging the wolf's initial brutal assault. He leaps onto the frog, his fiery fist chipping away at its massive health bar. The colossal beast retaliates with a torrent of fire, forcing the boxer on the defensive. But his retreat is short-lived as he's back on the attack in an instant. The boxer smirks, seeing these legendary beasts as just more targets to destroy. Getting they're the ones who are outnumbered. He boasts that his boss has killed this very frog countless times before. The inspector realizes the frog's defense won't hold against the boxer's relentless assault. But Zhang Zi just smirks, feeling the overwhelming killing intent from the enraged beast. His crew panics, shouting that the wolf has entered a berserk state. Thanks, guys, we noticed. The enraged wolf looms over him, a nightmare of claws and teeth given form. He's confused, wondering how the beast went berserk without being provoked. With his questions unanswered, the boxer makes a tactical retreat, a blur of fiery motion. He realizes he's no match for a berserk elite and decides it's time to run for his life. But Jiang Zhou stands in his way, calmly asking if it isn't a little late for that. The wolf is already on him, a flurry of shadow claws cutting off his escape. Its shadow claw attack tears through the cavern, a storm of pure, dark energy. The attack forms a cage of darkness, trapping the arrogant boxer completely. The boxer struggles against the cage of shadows, but there is no escape. With a final, brutal lunge, the berserk wolf tears through his defenses. His crew can only scream his name as their invincible leader falls. The arrogant A-rank talent is forced to his knees, his reign of trying to understand the motives of this mysterious for the future. Jiang Zhou accepts the note, a small token from a world he's determined to keep at arm's length. As he turns to the portal, the inspector calls out with one final heartfelt request. He begs Jiang Zhou to remember his duty to his nation, a plea for him to use his power for good. With a simple wave, Jiang Zhou confirms his loyalty, a silent promise to the man he's leaving behind. And with that, he steps through the gate, his journey on the second floor officially complete. He arrives on the third floor, a sprawling, untamed wilderness of mountains and mist. The arrival platform is nearly empty, a stark reminder that with each new floor the stakes get higher. He settles in to study his guidebook, preparing for the new threats on this floor. The bestiary reveals his new opponents, sword-wielding peltast goblins and rock-throwing pelting goblins. He notes with interest that this floor is dominated by humanoids, a significant change from the beasts below. But his research is cut short, as an alert reminds him it's time to log out for the night. He returns to a sister is in trouble at a high-end club. The words hit him like a physical blow, his worst fears suddenly realized. He sprints across the city, arriving at a luxury dance hall he knows she has no business being in. But he's immediately stopped by security, his casual clothes marking him as an outsider. A dark realization dawns on him. This must be the job she mentioned. With a surge of otherworldly strength, he shoves the guards aside and storms into the building. They're left sprawling on the floor as he disappears inside, a man on a mission. He finds her in a crowded lounge, being harassed by a sleazy-looking man. The man offers her a credit card, trying to buy her compliance for the night. He throws the card to the floor, mocking her for pretending to be innocent. Her friend tries to intervene, offering to take her place with the sleazy VIP, but a brutish manager shoves her aside, insisting his client gets what he wants. The man grabs her face, his threats turning from sleazy to genuinely menacing. But the commotion is interrupted as the crowd turns to the club's entrance. Jiang Zhou storms in, his eyes burning with a promise to cripple anyone who hurts his sister. She cries out his name as the manager threatens him for daring to provoke their organization. The friend recognizes the name, a powerful group known for hiring demon territory elites. Unfazed, Jiang Zhou calmly picks up the discarded credit card from the floor. The manager smirks, assuming the boy has finally seen reason and is ready to surrender. But Jiang Zhou just scoffs, questioning if a mere card can buy his sister's life. With a flick of his wrist, he sends the card flying back at the manager. The manager flinches, completely unprepared for this sudden act of defiance. The golden card cuts through the air, a projectile aimed at the man's face. But before it can connect, a hand snatches it with impossible speed. The sleazy VIP reveals himself, casually holding the card with a confident smirk. Jiang Zhou is stunned, realizing this man is far more than just a rich thug. The manager, emboldened by his boss's presence, screams for his men to attack. A trio of goons charges forward, intent on crippling the defiant student. But a commanding voice rings out and a high-heeled shoe stops them cold. A woman in a striking red dress arrives, her presence instantly calming the chaos. She addresses the sleazy VIP as Hao Tian, her polite tone barely hiding a deep suspicion. The manager complains about the girls, but she tries to smooth things over with a practiced smile. But he's not interested in diplomacy, instead threatening her authority in the city. Her smile turns cold as she welcomes them, but her words carry a clear warning. She tells them that if they're here to bully her people, they should just go home. The crowd rallies behind her, their voices rising in a chorus of defiance. Hao Tian scoffs at their courage, reminding them his money funds the heroes who keep them safe. With his point made, he declares he's taking the girl and no one can stop him. But Sister Jiang's patience has run out. She warns him not to blame her for what comes next. With a furious cry, Sister Jiang leaps into the air, aiming a devastating kick at the manager. Her heel connects with brutal force, a direct hit to the man's jaw. But her attack is stopped cold as Hao Tian casually catches her leg mid-air. He laughs, completely unimpressed by her show of force. The manager reveals the truth. This is Master Chen, the city's only S-rank talent in a decade. With their protector down, the manager moves to grab Zhang Zi's sister, daring anyone to interfere. Two of Chen's bodyguards step forward, but his hand is stopped, intercepted by a blur of motion just inches from its target. Zhang Zi lands a vicious punch, warning the man to keep his filthy hands off his sister. The S-rank talent seems more intrigued than angry by the sudden intervention. Zhang Zi pulls his sister behind him, his warning clear: touch her, and you die. Chen Feng recognizes the speed, realizing this isn't just some kid. He's a demon territory adventurer. Even Sister Jiang is stunned, asking just how high his agility stat could possibly be. Chen Feng is shocked. His own agility is superhuman, yet this boy is even faster. He introduces himself as Chen Feng, a fellow student, his interest clearly piqued. Zhang Zi gives his name, revealing he's from the very same city, the 5th high school. Chen Feng can't believe they're from the same generation, seeing this as a fateful encounter. With a confident grin, he challenges Zhang Zi to a spar, ready to test his power. But Zhang Zi isn't interested in playing games, shutting him down and walking away with his sister. But Zhang Zi's eyes are cold, his resolve hardening into a silent promise of violence. He crushes the hand of a fallen goon under his heel, a clear message to the rest. The two powerhouses lock eyes, a silent challenge passing between them. Chen Feng is impressed, but makes it clear that no one is leaving without his permission. Sister Jiang warns him of the S-rank's immense strength, but Zhang Zi remains unfazed. He calmly tells his sister to stand aside, promising this will all be over soon. Chen Feng grins, thrilled to have finally found a worthy opponent in his own backyard. With a stomp that cracks the marble floor, the S-rank talent finally gets serious. He launches forward, his fist a blur of motion aimed directly at Zhang Zi's face. Sister Jiang realizes with horror that he was holding back. This punch is on another level. But Zhang Zi dodges with impossible grace, a blur of motion against the S-rank's raw power. He knows his only advantage is speed, and he plans to use it to dismantle his opponent. He lands a swift counter, a sharp jab that connects squarely with Chen Feng's jaw. But the S-rank just smirks, mocking his strength and calling his punches pathetic. Zhang Zi becomes a phantom, circling his opponent with blinding, impossible speed. For the first time, a flicker of genuine panic crosses Chen Feng's face. He can't keep up. The S-rank is forced on the defensive, unable to block the relentless flurry of strikes. He can't believe it, wondering just how high this kid's agility stat could possibly be. Even the manager is stunned, realizing he's made a grave and likely painful miscalculation. Zhang Zi lands another brutal blow, finally drawing a cry of pain from the arrogant S-rank. From the sidelines, his sister proudly explains that he just likes to hide his power. Zhang Zi presses his advantage, forcing the S-rank to retreat across the dance floor. Chen Feng clutches his arm, his face a mask of fury and disbelief. With a confident smirk, Zhang Zi asks if he's finally had enough. The two powerhouses stand apart, the fight reaching a tense, silent stalemate. The manager urges his boss to retreat, wary of this new, unknown expert. Chen Feng vows to remember his name, promising a rematch in 3 months. Zhang Zi just smiles, revealing they're both aiming for the same academy. Chen Feng gets in one last taunt, pointing out Zhang Zi's other weaknesses. But Zhang Zi dismisses it, telling him to worry about his own hand first. Chen Feng leaves with a final, mocking laugh at Zhang Zi's confidence. With the bullies gone, the crowd erupts, cheering for their unlikely hero. With the danger past, Zhang Zi pulls his sister close, ready to take her home. But just as they turn to leave, a voice calls out, stopping them in their tracks. Sister Jiang approaches, offering her gratitude and an invitation for a private chat. His sister vouches for the woman, and Zhang Zi, ever the good brother, agrees. They follow her to a quiet office away from the prying eyes of the crowd. She offers him a check for $500,000 because apparently heroism pays well. She explains he didn't just save a girl, he defended the honor of their city. He hesitates, but realizes this money is the key to his sister's future. A man explains the club's long-standing feud with Chen Feng's powerful organization. Sister Jiang clarifies the money isn't a reward, but a retainer for his future help. With his sister's encouragement, Zhang Zi accepts the money and the responsibility. He politely declines her offer of an escort, ready to leave the club's drama behind. As they walk home, he firmly forbids his sister from ever returning to this dangerous place. He makes it clear that no salary is worth the risk she just took, but she's just happy to see her big brother in his true heroic form. He brushes off the praise, because even heroes have to get their siblings to bed for school. The next day, it's back to the familiar routine of the 5th Academy. But just as he reaches his classroom, a voice calls out his name. It's handsome Fatty, who dramatically announces he was almost kidnapped yesterday. He clings to Zhang Ze, tearfully crediting the mysterious Lord Rakshasa for saving his life. Zhang Ze realizes his classmate's memory is a little too good for his own comfort. But his morning is interrupted again by another more imposing student. It's Zheng Hao, the school's A-rank talent, asking if Zhang Ze was the janitor last night. Zhang Ze panics, worried his secret strength test was witnessed by the school's top student. But Zheng Hao only asks if he saw who used the machine, giving Zhang Ze a perfect out. He plays dumb, a flicker of relief in his eyes as he denies seeing anything at all. With his secret safe for now, he makes a hasty retreat, vowing to be more careful. But as he leaves, Zheng Hao watches on, a seed of suspicion already planted. His classmates dismiss the idea, unable to believe the underachiever could be a hidden master. Back at home, a news report warns of a dangerous criminal loose in their city. Zhang Zhu heads out, telling his sister to stay safe as he logs into the demon territory. He arrives on the 3rd floor, a vast and untamed wilderness stretching to the horizon. Back in his Rakshasa gear, he takes stock of his army, noting 5 empty slots to fill. His current roster is a powerhouse, but he needs more bodies for the battles ahead. The guidebook reveals his new opponents, goblin warriors and mages. Decisions. He decides to test them in combat before committing to a new summon. But his scouting mission is cut short by a desperate cry for help nearby. He finds a team of adventurers completely overwhelmed by a goblin ambush. The shield bearer can only watch in horror as his defense is shattered. The goblin warrior's strike splinters his shield, sending him reeling back. From the back lines, a volley of rocks peppers the retreating adventurers. Zhang Ze watches from the shadows, noting the goblin's surprising strength. Deciding he's seen enough, he unleashes his colossal Devour Heaven frog. The massive beast's mouth ignites, preparing a fiery welcome for the goblins. It unleashes a torrent of flame, incinerating the front line of the ambush. Pleased with the opening salvo, Zhang Ze calls in his trusty tank. The lava turtle erupts into existence, its stony form ready for a fight. It easily blocks the goblin's attack, its shell barely taking a scratch. Zhang Ze is stunned that his turtle is even managing to hold on. But the goblin mage's relentless barrage of rocks is chipping away at its health. And just like that, his trusty tank falls, dissolving into particles of light. Realizing his mistake, Zhang Ze orders his frog to take out the backline support. The colossal beast unleashes a torrent of flame, a fiery answer to the goblin's rocks. The goblin mage can only watch as its doom is reflected in its own eyes. The fireball connects for a massive critical hit, and Zhang Ze knows the tide has turned. The goblin mage is completely engulfed, its reign of rock throwing officially over. With the main threat gone, he unleashes his elite wolf to clean up the rest. The remaining goblins flee in a blind panic, their ambush now a complete failure. Zhang Ze is stunned to find these goblins are smart enough to know when to retreat. The remaining warriors flee for their lives, their organized ambush now a complete failure. But he's not about to let them escape, unleashing his fastest summon to run them down. The jacked-up rabbit closes the distance in an instant, a furry missile of pure vengeance. Soon, only one goblin remains, cornered by Zhang Ze's army and given one final order: attack. The lone warrior is overwhelmed, torn apart by a coordinated assault from his summoned beasts. He notes with frustration that even a single goblin took 10 minutes to wear down. But with the battle won, he prepares to claim his prize and add a new soldier to his ranks. The goblin warrior is reborn, its stats revealing a solid frontline fighter for his growing army. He's impressed. Even without skills, this new summon is stronger than his veteran rabbit. He wonders aloud why his rabbit hasn't returned from its hunt. And right on cue, the system delivers the worst possible news. Zhang Ze is stunned, demanding to know how his summon could have died. But his questions are cut short by the sound of an approaching army. The ground trembles under the weight of countless marching feet. A massive horde of goblins charges forward, led by a very familiar, very angry mage. He realizes with horror that the goblin he let escape just called in the entire family reunion. Knowing he's outmatched, Zhang Ze unsummons his army and makes a tactical retreat. He sprints across the plains, a one-man stampede with a goblin mob at his back. But the goblin leader halts the chase, a sign that this isn't just a mindless mob. He realizes the goblins are smart, deliberately avoiding the altar's safe zone. He leads the horde back to the altar, much to the confusion of the other players. The goblin leader offers a final defiant gesture before its army pulls back. True to his theory, the entire goblin army retreats from the altar's edge. Zhang Zu analyzes their tactics, knowing he can't let them escape to call for backup again. Then, a sudden realization hits him, a new plan forming in his mind. He chides himself for forgetting a crucial part of his own skill set. Later, he tracks a smaller patrol, ready to test his new strategy. From the shadows, he watches his targets, waiting for the perfect moment. But the goblins have spotted a figure in the trees, preparing for an ambush of their own. With his new plan in motion, Zhang Ze orders his army to attack the goblin patrol. His lava turtle charges forward, a living battering ram against the goblin front line. The elite wolf and colossal frog join the fray, a devastating pincer of shadow and flame. But the goblins fight back, their coordinated strikes chipping away at his turtle's health. With one goblin down, Zhang Ze taunts the survivor, making it clear there's no escape. His summons form a perfect perimeter, herding the remaining goblins like terrified sheep. A cold smirk spreads across his face as he isolates the final trembling target. The elite wolf looms over the last goblin, its roar a promise of a swift and brutal end. Just as he predicted, the terrified creature turns and makes a desperate run for its life. But Zhang Ze was counting on it, unleashing his poison spider to ensnare the runner in a sticky web. With the goblin cornered, Zhang Ze taunts it before giving his army the final command. The creature can only tremble in fear, its fate sealed by its own clever tactics. A final, pained cry echoes through the forest as the last goblin falls. With the battle won, he summons the goblin mage, surprised by its impressive stats. A quick look at its profile confirms it's a powerful, high-damage ranged attacker. He realizes these mages are the key to countering the goblin horde's strength. With a new strategy in mind, he leads his army on a goblin extermination tour. His poison spider proves invaluable, trapping enemies for an easy kill. He sees the value in crowd control, a lesson learned from his own near disaster. But the battle is costly, as his loyal lava turtle falls in the fiery crossfire. With 2 bosses, a spider, and 7 goblins, his 10-slot army is finally complete. A confident smirk spreads across his face. It's time to pay the 3rd-floor boss a visit. His destination is a massive goblin stronghold, a fortified city nestled in the misty mountains. But he knows this boss is different. It comes with an entire army of its own. He arrives to find a familiar scene, a self-proclaimed expert recruiting newbies for a free boss run. But Zhang Ze knows the truth. These are just scammers preying on the desperate and naive. The recruiter spots him, but our boy can only sigh at the sight of yet another group of fools. The man offers him a spot on the team, promising all the loot for free. Seems legit. But Zhang Ze politely declines, preferring to trust his own army over a stranger's empty promises. The crowd scoffs, calling him an arrogant fool for trying to take on the stronghold alone. He watches as the overconfident team decides to charge the front gate. But Zhang Ze has other plans, drawing his bow and calling forth his own army. Inside, the other team's brilliant strategy has gotten them completely surrounded. From the shadows, Zhang Ze recognizes the fools, wondering where their leader went. The adventurers are completely overwhelmed, their defenses shattered by the goblin horde. The entire team is swarmed, a chaotic mess of flailing limbs and goblin fists. One by one, the players fall, their bodies dissolving into particles of light. But just as all hope seems lost, a single blade cuts through the chaos. The recruiter finally reveals his true power, effortlessly blocking the goblin's attack. Zhang Ze watches in shock, realizing this scammer is far more than he seems. The Goblin King roars in fury, its eyes glowing with a malevolent purple energy. The recruiter stands alone, facing down the entire goblin army and their massive leader. A pair of goblin warriors charges forward, their crude blades raised for the kill. But the recruiter reveals his own trick, summoning a trio of goblin minions to his side. His summoned warriors form a shield wall, effortlessly blocking the enemy's advance. Zhang Ze realizes the man's plan, use his own goblins to tank the damage and clear a path. Seeing an opportunity, he joins the fray, ordering his poison spider to attack the boss. The arachnid unleashes a thick web, aiming to immobilize the massive Goblin King. With the boss distracted, the recruiter orders his remaining goblins to charge the throne. But the king just laughs as the summoned warriors are instantly cut down. Well, that was a short-lived rebellion. Zhang Ze finally understands the recruiter's twisted scheme. He's just using newbies as bait. He peeks into a nearby tent, finding the grim aftermath in a field of dropped loot. He reaches down, his fingers closing around a glowing blue magic soul. He reflects on the recruiter's cruelty, knowing these orbs were bought with innocent lives. Still, he can't deny the impressive haul he's just acquired. Waste not, want not, I guess. With his pockets full, he consults his guidebook, his eyes on the real prize. He arrives at the boss's lair, but a desperate cry for help echoes from within. He realizes with a start that someone else is already inside, fighting for their life. A terrified adventurer is cornered, reaching out as a massive goblin warrior moves in. The Goblin King roars in triumph as the last of the adventurers are overwhelmed. The Goblin King roars in fury, unleashing a devastating slash of pure purple energy. The recruiter is caught in the blast, his health rapidly draining from the brutal assault. From the shadows, Zhangze recognizes the high-damage skill, stunned by the recruiter's power. Deciding to intervene, he orders his ranged summons to focus all their fire on the boss. But the Goblin King retaliates, blasting the colossal frog with a massive, fiery explosion. Zhangze's frog returns the favor, engulfing the Goblin King in its own torrent of flame. The frog roars in pain, its massive form taking the full force of the fiery counterattack. The battlefield becomes a fiery hellscape as the two titans trade devastating blows. Meanwhile, the recruiter is cornered again, his cries of pain echoing through the throne room. He takes cover, desperately trying to survive for just 5 more seconds for a plan to unfold. The recruiter glares with pure hatred, vowing revenge as a timer ticks down. But Zhangze is unfazed, explaining he only needs to stall, not kill. He turns the man's cruel words back on him, declaring it's his turn to be the bait. Just then, the recruiter is ensnared in a thick web, his escape completely cut off. But in a flash of steel, the recruiter draws a hidden, wicked-looking dagger. He lunges forward, landing a devastating critical strike right into Zhangze's chest. Zhangze stumbles back, clutching the fresh wound as blood begins to seep through. He stares in shock, a flicker of recognition in his eyes as he points at his attacker. The recruiter vows to hunt him down, his own timer now at 25 seconds. But their personal drama is interrupted by a much, much larger problem. The recruiter panics, wondering why the hooded archer has suddenly reappeared. But Zhangze is back, casually leaning against a pillar, watching the chaos unfold. He draws his bow, having already figured out the recruiter's entire twisted strategy. He'd watched from the shadows as the Goblin King laughed over the spoils of the fallen. He realized then that the recruiter wasn't a hero, just a predator using newbies as bait. He'd even snuck down to the battlefield to see the grim results for himself. His fingers closed around a glowing blue magic soul, one of many left behind. He knew each orb was bought with a life, cementing his disgust for the despicable scammer. And so he intervened, firing an arrow with a sarcastic offer of assistance. The recruiter is suddenly ensnared, caught in a sticky web from an unseen attacker. The recruiter is stunned, wondering how Zhangze saw through his stealth ability. He realizes his situation is dire, with an angry Goblin King now looming right behind him. The massive boss's eyes burn with pure, unadulterated rage. He's caught in a pincer, trapped between the furious boss and the vengeful player. The Goblin King unleashes its fury, cutting down one of Zhangze's own summoned warriors. A system alert confirms the loss, but Zhangze's expression remains unreadable. Even surrounded by the loot of his victims, the recruiter refuses to accept his defeat. But Zhangze reveals his master plan. With his summons gone, the boss has a new favorite target. The recruiter can only scream in terror as he realizes he's been played for a fool. The Goblin King grins, ready to deliver a final brutal judgment on the trapped scammer. But the recruiter isn't finished, boasting he can still escape with his stealth skill. And just like that, he disappears, leaving the Goblin King to wonder where its target went. Zhangze finally gets a look at the man's name. Death Kiss. How fitting. The scammer reappears, impressed that Zhangze survived his earlier critical strike. Zhangze realizes the man's entire build is designed for one purpose: killing other players. Death Kiss proudly admits to his scheme, declaring that Zhangze's interference has earned him a death sentence. But the Goblin King has other plans, intercepting the attack with its own massive blades. Zhangze is stunned. The boss can parry, a skill that would render most of his army useless. Meanwhile, his own goblin mages are swarming his colossal frog, chipping away at its health. And in a horrifying twist, his own summoned goblins turn against him, their loyalty suddenly gone. Zhangze realizes the Goblin King is too strong for his frog, forcing him to consider a retreat. The massive boss unleashes a devastating energy slash, a final judgment for the trapped scammer. But Death Kiss goes down fighting, vowing to drag his killer down with him. The purple blades connect, a brutal end to the player-killer's reign of terror. As the scammer dissolves into light, Zhangze offers a fitting and frankly accurate eulogy. With the trash taken out, he steps forward, ready to claim the boss kill for himself. He stands with his remaining army, facing down the Goblin King for the final showdown. But first, he takes a moment to loot the scammer's body, finding a nice pile of orbs. He even finds a new pair of gloves, a welcome boost to his pathetic attack power. With his new gear equipped, he lets an arrow fly, officially starting the boss fight. The arrow flies true, a single shot to get the boss's attention. But the Goblin King is less than impressed, the arrow bouncing harmlessly off its crown. Zhang Ze can only sweat, realizing his personal damage is, to put it mildly, embarrassing. A system alert confirms 2 of his own goblin summons have already fallen to the boss's power. He knows the king's whirlwind attack is too strong. He needs a new strategy, and fast. The Goblin King roars in fury, ready to unleash another devastating slash upon the intruders. Changing tactics, Zhang Ze calls on his poison spider to immobilize the massive target. The web finds its mark, stopping the colossal beast right in its tracks. Seizing the opportunity, Zhang Ze rushes in, closing the distance while the boss is trapped. But the Goblin King just unleashes its whirlwind slash, a storm of purple energy that fills the room. The whirlwind tears through his summoned goblins, a brutal display of the king's power. With his axe glowing, the Goblin King stands ready to cut down any who approach. Zhang Ze realizes his mistake. The only way to win is to stay far away. He orders his remaining army to switch tactics and bombard the boss from a distance. His colossal frog unleashes a massive torrent of flame, a fiery answer to the king's blades. But as the battle rages, Zhang Ze spots a hidden opportunity on the battlefield. He calls forth his poison spider, ordering it to ensnare a very specific unseen target. The web finds its mark, revealing the scammer Death Kiss, who thought he was safely hidden. Zhang Ze calmly explains that with the scammer revealed, the boss's aggro is no longer on him. He offers a final, chilling promise. He's not running, he's just waiting to loot a corpse. With a single command, Zhang Ze recalls his army, leaving the scammer to face the Goblin King alone. With its primary target gone, the mighty boss finally falls, its body dissolving into particles of light. Zhang Ze celebrates his hard-won victory, surrounded by a treasure trove of high-level loot. But the throne room rumbles as a hidden mechanism activates behind the king's throne. The stone structure parts, revealing a swirling cosmic gateway to the next level. He realizes the portal to the 4th floor was hidden here all along, a final reward for the victor. He inspects the loot, pleased to find a high-rank magic soul, a worthy prize for his efforts. But the real prize is yet to come, as he summons the Goblin King to join his growing army. He now commands 3 bosses, a terrifying trio of the strongest beasts from the first 3 floors. With 5 slots still open, he plans to round out his army with a squad of goblin grunts. He decides to head for the 4th floor before the boss can respawn. He can't help but laugh at the thought of an entire army of boss-level monsters. His new goblin mages prove their worth, unleashing a barrage of deadly projectiles. And at the front, his newly summoned Goblin King tears through any who stand in its way. With his army complete, a confident smirk spreads across his face. He's ready for anything. Or so he thought, as an inspection team from the Management Bureau suddenly appears. The lead agent draws her bow, warning him that all exits have been sealed. Zhang Ze quickly assesses the situation. Outnumbered and outgunned, his odds are not good. Deciding to play along, he raises his hands in surrender, cursing his terrible luck. But just as he's taken into custody, a voice rings out, insisting he's not a criminal. The inspector from the 2nd floor arrives, recognizing the hooded figure immediately. He vouches for Rakshasa, explaining to his team that their real target is a player killer named Death Kiss. He asks Zhang Ze if he's seen the scammer, worried more newbies have fallen into his trap. But Zhang Ze can only shake his head, confirming that the agents arrived too late. The team is horrified, realizing an entire group of new players has been wiped out. The inspector seethes with rage, vowing to capture the man responsible for over 100 deaths. Zhang Ze calmly informs him that finding the killer will no longer be a problem. As he turns to the portal, the inspector reveals Death Kiss was part of a vast criminal organization, a hidden evil his team has been trying to expose. The inspector warns that this organization will seek revenge, offering protection if he joins them. Zhang Ze considers the offer, weighing the risks of his new dangerous path. But he once again declines, choosing to walk his own path as he steps toward the portal. The inspector can only watch him go, a silent frustration in his clenched fist. But he's not giving up, vowing that one day he'll recruit this mysterious powerhouse. He then casually reveals that Death Kiss is already dead, a problem he's personally handled. The agents scoff, explaining that Death Kiss was a legendary S-rank assassin, not some random mob. Unfazed, Zhang Ze offers to show them his kill list, a perfect record of his recent activities. And there it is, the legendary assassin's name sandwiched between a bunch of dead goblins. The team is left speechless. A third-floor newbie just took down one of the most wanted men in the territory. The agent with the pompadour can't believe it, recounting how Rakshasa faced the assassin alone. The inspector is left speechless, demanding to know how he actually managed to kill the legendary S-rank. The other agents can only sigh, lamenting that newbies these days are built a little differently. The inspector offers his heartfelt thanks, but Zhang Zi just says he did what needed to be done. He arrives on the 4th floor to find a crowd already in an uproar over something called the Death Territory. The players are furious, convinced this is just another scheme to monopolize the floor's resources. But Zhang Zi remembers the invitation he looted, realizing it's connected to this new crisis. A hooded official from the bureau steps forward, trying to maintain order amidst the chaos. He confirms their fears. The Death Territory is real and it has arrived on this very floor. And with it, the difficulty will skyrocket, a challenge on par with the legendary 10th floor. The crowd erupts in protest, refusing to believe the Bureau's dire warnings. The official relents, warning any who leave that they'll be on their own. One particularly loud begins to disperse, deciding a few days off is better than certain death. The official explains this is an uncharted space, a pocket dimension with unknown rules. It's a place where mutated beasts and shadowy demons hunt without mercy. He confirms it can appear on any floor, a random deadly event with no warning. Inside, even seasoned adventurers are cut down by the overwhelming horde. And at the heart of it all, a malevolent presence watches over the slaughter. He explains these are fallen cities, real-world scars teeming with monsters and lost treasures. And where there's treasure, there are illegal scavengers willing to risk it all for the right price. In these lawless lands, a lone warrior with a sinister grin prepares for the hunt. He bows his head, his blade humming with a deadly, focused energy. He unleashes a whirlwind of steel, a storm of slashes against a grotesque, multi-armed beast. The final blow connects, a brutal strike that ends the creature's monstrous rampage. A system alert confirms the kill as the giant beast dissolves into particles of light. In its place, a glowing purple orb materializes, because even in the apocalypse, there's loot. But the hand that reaches for the prize is pale and claw-like, something not entirely human. With the orb secured, his victory is cut short by an unexpected system message. He's approached by a group of scavengers, a rough-looking crew with a simple motto, money over safety. They call themselves the Thai Gang, and they're looking for a new recruit for a high-risk job. The offer is tempting, a single trip for a payout of 300,000. Zhang Zi does the math. This is the exact amount he needs for his sister's medical fees. With his sister's future on the line, he agrees to join their dangerous venture. But the leader reveals a twist. The reward has been increased to a staggering 3 million. The rest of the crew is ecstatic, their cut having just doubled in an instant. But Zhang Zi has a question, wondering what exactly they're risking their lives for. The target is revealed, a priceless painting from a long-lost dynasty. The plan is set, a pre-dawn raid on the Jiangdong Museum. What could possibly go wrong? Lu Kai lays out the team's motto. They're here for the cash, and danger is just a bonus. He tries to sweeten the deal, telling Zhang Zi that big risks lead to even bigger rewards. Another member chimes in, dangling a 300,000 payout for a single trip to seal the deal. Zhang Zi's mind races. With his sister's medical bills looming, this is an offer he can't refuse. With a determined look, he officially accepts the high-stakes job offer. The leader celebrates his new recruit, then casually drops that the reward just jumped to 3 million. The whole crew is stunned, realizing their individual payout just doubled to a whopping 600,000. A bit overwhelmed, Zhang Zi finally asks what priceless treasure they're actually hunting for. The leader reveals their target is no monster, but an ancient painting from a bygone era. With the plan set, he gives the final orders. They're hitting the Jiangdong Museum at 4 a.m. sharp. The next day arrives, bringing with it the start of their dangerous mission. He's greeted by his sister, who's prepared a simple breakfast for his early start. She explains a pair of perfect apples were a gift from a new kind neighbor. But Zhang Zi is immediately suspicious. In this world, such a gift is a luxury. He warns her to be wary of strangers before heading out for the day's work. Knowing the risks, he'd absorbed a magic orb the night before for a power boost. A quick check of his stats confirms his strength and agility are now superhuman. His journey takes him to the edge of civilization, the massive city wall. The rest of the Thai Gang is already there, waiting to venture into the wastes. The leader hands him his emergency equipment, a single, very serious rubber chicken. The leader explains the chicken is a decoy. If a monster chases you, throw it and run. With a nod of understanding, Zhang Ze follows the team toward the massive city wall. Under the relentless rain, they begin their ascent, gripping the thick rope tightly. With a firm step, Zhang Ze begins to scale the colossal structure. He climbs higher, the city's last line of defense against the horrors outside. Reaching the top, he takes a moment to catch his breath, the real journey about to begin. Before them lies a dead city, a sprawling ruin teeming with monstrous life. The leader tells him to stick close, promising he'll make it back alive if he follows orders. With no time to waste, the team descends into the concrete graveyard below. They move through the desolate streets, a small group against a world of monsters. But his new teammates are already discussing how to ditch the burden after the mission. They arrive at their destination, a ruined museum blocked by a mountain of rubble. The leader announces their arrival, but Zhang Ze points out the obvious lack of an entrance. The leader sends one of his crew, a blonde man named Feng Zi, to find a way in. He quickly locates a gap in the debris, revealing a glowing green exit sign. With a confident grin, he confirms he's found their hidden entrance. He then calls down to the team's muscle, a man named Lao Ba, telling him it's his turn. The bald man steps forward, cracking his knuckles because subtlety is clearly not in the job description. He unleashes a devastating punch, his fist a blur of raw, focused power. The impact shatters the stone, blasting a new doorway into the side of the ruined museum. With their new entrance cleared, the Tai Gang stands ready to plunder the ruins. The leader boasts that Lao Ba is their strongest, with a respectable strength stat of 12. But Zhang Ze is unimpressed, realizing their muscle is actually weaker than he is. He takes point with a flashlight, warning the others that monsters love the dark. The leader echoes his warning, ordering his team to stay on high alert. They venture into a dark corridor, their lights revealing the skeletons of those who came before. Their beams land on a set of heavy doors, the path to their prize now clear. With a heavy groan, the ancient doors are pushed open, revealing the darkness within. Elsewhere, Moonshadow chugs a health potion, determined to save the reckless freshman. She works to patch her wounds, hoping the kid can survive just a little longer. But help arrives from an unexpected source as a young girl calls out a healing spell. Her simple wooden staff glows with a powerful restorative light. The light washes over Moonshadow, mending her wounds as the mysterious healer watches on. Moonshadow is stunned as the healer addresses her with a surprising title, Princess. Far in the future, a bureau official gives a final warning to a crowd of adventurers. Back in the present, Moonshadow explains that a freshman lured the beast away. Her team can only stare in disbelief. A newbie kiting an elite boss is a death sentence. But that suicidal newbie is now on the offensive, finally unleashing his secret weapon. His summoned monsters roar into the clearing, a small but formidable personal army. The three rabbits immediately swarm the wolf, their coordinated assault slowing its movements. The wolf proves incredibly agile, leaping over the turtle to avoid its attacks. It lands a brutal strike, its claws raking across the turtle's stony shell. But Zhang Ze just smirks. His strategy of covering his tank's weakness is working flawlessly. With the battle won, his time in this world is up as reality calls him back. He logs out to get some rest, his mind already on the next day's hunt. Elsewhere, the healer apologizes to Moonshadow, humbled by her own weakness. Her teammate looks around the empty clearing, wondering where the elite boss vanished. In the desolate ruins of a fallen city, a monstrous creature lets out a terrifying roar. A lone warrior with a sinister grin draws his blade, ready for the hunt. He bows his head, channeling his power into the cold, waiting steel. He unleashes a whirlwind of steel, a storm of slashes against the grotesque, multi-armed beast. The final blow connects, a brutal strike that ends the creature's monstrous rampage. A system alert confirms the kill as the giant beast dissolves into particles of light. In its place, a glowing purple orb materializes, a worthy prize for his efforts. But the hand that reaches for the prize is pale and claw-like, something not entirely human. With the orb secured, his victory is cut short by an unexpected system message. It's a kill notification, confirming that Death Kiss has been slain by a player named Rakshasa. The warrior smirks, the name of his new rival now seared into his memory. Elsewhere, another warrior stands before a colossal stitched-together horror. And from the shadows, a familiar beast watches, its eyes burning with a dark purple energy. His elite wolf tears through the shadowy enemies, but the damage exchange is brutal. Zhang Ze realizes his summons are too fragile for a head-on fight. In the chaos, a familiar blue light signals a mid-battle level up for his rabbit. He roars new commands, ordering his turtle to tank while his rabbits press the assault. The wolf leaps over its massive ally, a blur of coordinated fury. The battle drags on, a silent, brutal struggle under the night sky. But the first casualty falls, a system alert confirming one of his rabbits is down. He lets out a cry of genuine loss for his fallen furry soldier. A second rabbit is cut down, its health bar vanishing in an instant. He grits his teeth, furious that after all this, the enemy still stands. He screams in frustration. If this wolf doesn't fall soon, his entire army will be wiped out. With a final, desperate command, he orders his turtle to end this now. The massive tail connects with brutal force, sending the elite beast flying. A system notification confirms the impossible. The elite dark shadow wolf is finally defeated. He lets out a shaky breath, his 2 remaining summons barely clinging to life. But the rewards are well worth the risk, a treasure trove of elite-level loot. With the battle won, he reaches for the grand prize, a new elite-level pet. A vortex of raw power tears open the clearing, answering his command. The dark shadow wolf is reborn, its immense power now bound to his will. He can't help but grin. With this beast, he's practically a god on the first floor. The leader explains that these fallen zones are teeming with monsters and lost treasures. It's a dangerous and illegal business, scavenging priceless artifacts for wealthy collectors. But for the Thai gang, the risk is irrelevant. They're only in it for the money. With a friendly smile, they welcome him to a life of high-risk, high-reward adventure. But back in the demon territory, Zhang Ze knew his double life had its limits. Meanwhile, Moonshadow is consumed by guilt, convinced his death is on her hands.